Hey there, in this video we talk about Reverb, and Reverb doesn't need any introduction. It's just an effect that replicates the signal and emulates the reverberations of an ambience, of a room, hall, whatever place an instrument can sound into. So we have the input processing. Input processing allows us to filter the input that goes into the reverb, not the actual input, but it just filters what enters the reverb. We have the low cut, the high cut, we have the frequency and the bandwidth. Then we have the pre-delay. Pre-delay controls the delay time, so it's the time that the reverb takes to start reverberating. So pre-delay is the time that the reverb takes to start reverberating the sound. So we can tell the reverb to start outputting its signal 37.6 milliseconds later. So we have all that room for the dry signal to cut through. Then we have the early reflection. So the early reflections has the XY control for the modulation, and we have also this spin we can turn on and off. Let's hear how it sounds. Now we have a sort of soft reverb. If we turn it on, we can hear it gets a little more metallic. It's really subtle. Then we have the shape of the room, which decides the prominence of early reflection. Then we have the global section, we have the quality, echo, mid, high. We have the size of the room. This is usually overlooked, but it's really important. As the room is smaller, the reverb sounds bigger, not spacier or wider, just bigger, because it's bigger in relation of the size of the room. As the room is smaller, the sound takes less time to bounce from a surface to another, so it keeps bouncing and it builds up. So we have it really strong here. If we set a large room, we have it like it's far away from us. Then we have this stereo, and this is pretty self-explanatory. We turn it all the way down, we have a mono reverb. Then we have the diffusion network. So the diffusion network allows us to set how frequencies decay. We have the decay time, which is the global decay time. If it's short, we can hear it's almost identical to the dry sound. In this way it's way longer, but with the diffusion network we can do this. This is not actually filtering, is setting how fast the high and low frequency decays. So in this way we have the high frequencies with a shorter decay time, the same goes for the low end if I set it like this. So let's see it like a scaler for the decay time, but throughout the spectrum. And we have the single parameters for both, let's call them shells. Then we have the freeze and flat cut parameters. The freeze allows us to do this. It keeps the reverb still, in a sense. It loops that portion, that final portion, until the moment we want it to stop. Then we have the flat. Flat bypasses the high and low shelf filter when freeze is on. Then we have the cut, which modifies freeze by preventing the input signal from adding to the frozen reverberation. When off, the input signal will contribute to the diffused amplitude. So without the cut, we have the freezed reverb going on and the new reverb, which is being generated, that keeps being generated. So they overlap. Then we have the chorus. And this is just a chorus built inside the reverb. We have the density. It controls the density of the diffusion network. So low values produce thinner sounding echoes, higher values produce denser one. Then we have the scale. This controls the coarseness of the diffusion. Higher values tend to produce a darker sound. Then finally we have the reflect and diffuse. So this adjusts the amplitude of the early reflection. So these ones, let's isolate them. These are the very first reflections. They're called early reflections for a reason. They happen as soon as the input comes in and they decay really fast. You can barely hear them. Now the diffuse. This is what we are used to imaging the reverb. The longer part, but reverb is about diffusion and reflection. Then finally we have the dry wet knob, and for the reverb it's all. See you in the next video.